Absolutely, and this is one where the pass is made from higher, so I can beat the first pass on my feet. I know where.
So when you see yourself, and
Yeah.
that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, so I know that from there, Nylander's probably not a threat to shoot. If he does, I'm probably in a good spot for that. But I know that I take my ice awareness. I know he's a lefty, so he's probably going to have to catch it and shoot it unless he makes a heck of a shot, which some guys can obviously do.
Right.
But
That allows you to come across on your feet.
that allows me to come across on my feet, catch my edge, and then as this is happening, I see that he kind of fumbles it just enough that and I see that there's a backside threat. So I'm, like you said, the depth part of it I think is the biggest thing. Once I catch my edge, I know that I'm in a good spot if he shoots it, but I know that I can also grab my edge, push across, and be prepared for the second seam. So it's just one of those things. I think anytime you can come across on your feet as a goaltender and be set, it gives you an opportunity to make the secondary pass, their secondary seam save.
And so, I mean, this guy's in a pretty good shooting area.
Yeah.
You beat it on your feet. The temptation's got to be, or I would imagine could be, to come out at him and cut that down.
I think, again, if he was by himself, I would have. But because there's another backdoor threat, again, I think I'm still in a pretty good position here if he does release it. But obviously I have to give myself a chance on the backdoor as well. And that's really all you can do in the situation. If he makes a great shot over my blocker or a pass and this guy gets it up, sometimes you have to tip your cap. There's good players in the NHL and they're there for a reason. But anytime you can give yourself an opportunity to just get there and make them execute, that's all I'm trying to do.
And again, rotation, even in a bang-bang play, the backside comes with, the stick sort of pulls your shoulder across, and you're on that.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things. Eyes, head, chest, everything else follows from there. Yeah, so here I give up my ice off the rush. As soon as he becomes not a shooting threat, when Backlund kind of pulls up here,
Okay.
you can tell I have took a little bit more ice off the rush. Once he gets to about that point, I give up my ice,
Okay.
use my glide there, and I know that they like to hit the late guys, and we kind of over back check a little bit here, which is fine. But here's the flash screen, so I'm on my blocker side shoulder, and just as they're going through, you can see me lean a little bit to my glove side here to see if I can find the release. Luckily, he holds onto it long enough for me to actually catch the release, and that allows me to actually make this save fairly clean. So I think if I just stay behind the screen and just drop, there's a good chance that he can beat me from there if I don't get the initial release point.
So is it a combination of things? Like, A, you have to find the puck. That's the first priority. You know this is moving to your right.
Yeah.
But is it also a little bit of, hey, there's two giant bodies moving to my right, hoping that if he does shoot there's two guys. Like, do you have to make that? Is that the decision? Like, hey, I need to find the puck, but these guys are now occupying where I'm giving up.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing, first of all, is I get there and I get set. So obviously skating becomes a big part of it. If I'm not set here and I'm coming across as they're coming across, maybe there's extra movement here. I beat them. I get my initial sight line before they start to come through my eyes. And that allows me, when they go through, to change shoulders just quick enough where he's releasing it. Because I think if I don't try to change sides here, again, who knows where that's going to go. Who knows if I make the save if it just comes through the screen. So I try to time it as they're gliding through, and Mo does a good job of continuing to push him through and not letting him stop right in front of me. And that allows me to get my sight line as they go through, and allows me to make that save.
That, like you said, it's a split second. It's probably like a tenth of a second.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
That moment, what goes in the mind in in that moment, I guess it's just find it on the other side.
It's just find it on the other side, yeah. And that's, again, something that we've really worked on, because this happens so much in games now. Like we talked about, guys aren't wasting shots anymore. He's not going to shoot from there, I don't think, unless those guys go through my eyes. He might even pull up and try to find another late guy. Guys aren't wasting shots anymore. They're trying to get the grade A's, and they know, they're smart players now, that the goalie loses sight of the puck and they can shoot it through the screen, that they have a better chance of scoring. So I think that's a great great execution on their part. And again, I was just able to find it ahead of time and make the safe clean.
We talked about it on the podcast, but is this an example of where Visual Edge has helped you? Because you do have to give up on it. And then with all that chaos coming through, as soon as it gets through, you have to attach to the release, the puck, and gather all that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Visual Edge has been a great tool for me. And I think it does help in situations like this. First of all, finding the puck, velocity, trajectory, all the things that you need to pick up on in a split second after the screen comes through. And obviously, all those things kind of come into play here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild to me, right? Like, if we're not getting puck touches in practice and stuff, here's an easy opportunity to get. And then you're just real hard on them, right? Like, they got to be hard, flat, and accurate every time, or else we're wrecking the drill. So. Yep, on it. Tight. Good. I'm going to get you to soft chip, Sue, so we can work on that skill. Okay, so she's going to just work the soft chip in for you guys. Okay, we'll go 4 more. 2 hit me. We get it, slam flat, hit me on the tape. Good. Eyes out, see it in. Good, flat here. Good. Yeah. Good, last 2, Soup. Good eyes. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Nice. See it in. Yeah, hit here. Good. Last one. Good, eyes out, see it. Yeah. Good. Atta girl. Good. Eyes out. See it in. Right on.
Okay, everyone stand up. What I want you to do is to lock your feet in, shoulder width apart. Make sure you got room between you and the other guy, and you don't hit the video camera and all that good stuff there. Point your right finger forward. Now go to your right about as far as you can, mark the spot, and come back. Now drop both your arms at your side. In a moment, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Now see, in your mind only, picture yourself pointing your right finger forward, going to your right, in your mind only, and your shoulder is feeling loose and limp as if it was made from a handful of loose rubber bands. And see yourself going to the right, doing a full 360. Feel it in your shoulder. See yourself doing 2 full 360s. Blow that image up in your mind. Make it really big. Move it closer. Make it brighter. Open your eyes. Point your right finger forward and go to your right as far as you human possibly can. Go, 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 go. Mark the spot. Come on back. Who went further the second time? Put your hand up. Powerful. Why? Why'd you go further the second time? What's the reason? You visualize it. So if you went further the second time in that visualization, if you aren't visualizing before a game, what are you giving up? If you aren't visualizing your career, what are you giving up? If you aren't visualizing your season before it starts, what are you giving up? And if you aren't visualizing a tryout or training camp before you go there, what are you giving up?
For me personally, when I play the game, it's about being quick and reaction time, and to have a pad then that helps me improve that. That's a major thing for me.
You feel fast, like your feet feel a lot faster.
It was so much lighter than the old pads. Moving side to side, especially kicking your legs out, you felt a lot faster.
Oh, they feel good. I like when they just kick out far, so they don't die right in front of me.
I thought the pad I was wearing last year was perfect. And now you can look at a pad and get a feel for a pad that, like I said, makes me faster out there.
I feel great. I love them.
When I rely on my quickness and reaction time, of course that gives me confidence too. When I feel like I'm becoming faster out there, but also saving energy, which is huge. End of the game or after a tough practice, you feel like you can go a little longer, a little harder, just because of that reason.
Is there anything you're looking at for him? I think all of us assume he's going to shoot, but
yeah.
And in terms of your depth and what you like to do in these,
yeah, I guess the most important thing is just keeping quiet feet for me. I think on odd man rushes. I could preface this with on even rushes. So I'd say a 3-on-2 is more of an even rush, and
okay.
3-on-3, 4-on-3, those type of things. You don't necessarily need to be set in a save stance as soon, right? Because there's a lot of east to west movement,
right? That
type of thing. On a 2-on-1 or a breakaway, I think it's better to be set a bit sooner in terms of being a bit lower in your stance.
Okay.
Being
more of a safe stance.
being a bit more set so you can have quiet feet as you get that backflow.
Okay.
I think is important. So
when you get backflow, are you for you, it's kind of subtle. You're not getting out and doing big sequence back.
No,
it's
almost just
releasing the edges
as
back?
you flex more,
yeah,
you get more weight on your toes and it carries you back.
Right.
So the big thing with breakaways, 2-on-1s for me is keeping quiet feet and getting that backflow with the quiet feet.
Okay.
Right. And then you're just so patient and you just wait for him to make a move.
Right.
And you just read off of that.
So again, a right-handed shot coming down the right wing. Do you almost have to overplay that side a little bit?
I almost
Just neutral?
Yeah, I think just pretty neutral. I think as long as you have a good base of if my feet are doing the right things, then I feel comfortable just playing normally. And then again, it's like that happens without me thinking about it, right? And I'm just focused on him, and whatever my body wants to do to react is what's gonna happen. But like in the moments that it's happening, there's no thinking about it, right? It's just, that's why you practice it, and when you get in the game, there's no thinking.
Same
you
with
just
in terms
do
of
it,
what you're seeing,
right?
his hands. Is there anything like that little move there where he kind of does that? You think he's dragging it across, or are you just?
Yeah.
Is it all just instinct at this point? You've seen it a million times from different guys, and
It's just instinct,
the brains.
right? Yeah. There's subtleties in how he moves when his blade's closed off like that. He's not really going to shoot because he has to open it back up to shoot.
It's not like you're thinking that in the moment. Those are just things that your brain
exactly.
instantly recognizes.
That's why you just play goalie in your eyes, right? And you trust that your body will follow and react to what you see. But can't be thinking and stopping the puck at the same time, right?
Exactly. If you think out there, you're dead. The old Top Gun reference.
That's
Thank
why,
God they made a
right,
new movie.
when we're doing this or when I'm with Curtis, that's when I do the thinking. And
I love the
that's when I
blocker
can pick
too.
myself
like
apart.
You don't pull. Like, is that? I mean, again, in this moment, it's just instinct. But when you review it, like instead of coming across and tucking it or pulling it in to seal, the way you project it and close off with it, like, is that a part of what you'd identify as a key to managing these kind of things?
Yeah, for sure. It's being able to, get the good forward hand position, but not get too stabby with it. It's easy to get the position and lean away from it or have your arm straight, and then you open a lot of holes. But as best as you can, if you can get your arm down and get the the right projection, but get your body kind of behind it, and it helps to close a lot of the holes.
I just had a junior goalie from Ontario about a week ago. He'd been practicing really hard, doing everything, in the performance wheel, all his physical, mental, cognitive, perceptual. And then they're supposed to play on Friday night, and he gets the call from the coach on Thursday that he's not starting the game. So now that's that self-interference. Monkey mind is thoughts, any kind of thinking. So, for example, if his flashlight of attention is on the coach, okay, and if all of a sudden, let's say a minute into that game, the other goalie gets injured, or the other goalie gives up a couple of goals, bad goals. Well, if he hasn't mentally prepared for that game, and he's still angry at the coach, and his flashlight is on the coach, and now when he gets into that game, he's not fully present. His flashlight is not on the play that's happening in front of him. So there's an example where there's a goalie who could have got totally sidetracked because all he was doing was thinking about the coach and the coach's decisions and playing time. Another monkey mind would be, and no disrespect to the goalie coaches, but let's say you go for a goalie lesson, okay, and you're working on your RVH or you're working on your glove positioning. Do you want to be thinking about that during the course of the game? No, the whole point of training is we want to eventually get it muscle memory, where we're not thinking about mechanics. That would be another monkey mind. So, and you'll see that often if a goalie has a goalie lesson, and they go out the following day, sometimes they will really struggle because they're really trying to do what their goalie coach has asked them to do, as opposed to just keep working on it till eventually it becomes more automatic. So monkey mind is basically any kind of where you're thinking thinking about thinking. You know, you could be thinking about, you know, like we were talking earlier, like if now all of a sudden the goalie goes to a new team and his defensive system isn't like it was before, and he's thinking about his teammates' behavior or lack thereof, now he's not paying attention to what he needs to be paying attention to. So that's an example of monkey mind. It could be the novice or Adam goalie that's really worried about what his mom and dad are thinking, you know, what in the stands. Or it could be for our junior goalies, if it's in their draft year, they're all worried about what NHL scouts are thinking about them. That would be an example of monkey mind. So the reason why I mentioned the breath as an anchor point, it's one shot, one play, one period, one game at a time. So again, when we're feeling the breath, okay, so for example, my personal preference, I like to put the hands here. And the reason is when I breathe in, I'm going to feel that little expansion of my ribs and my tummy. And when I breathe out, I'm going to feel that little contraction. So again, if I place my hand here and here, this hand should be relatively still. If I put it here, I'm going to imagine for some of the kids that have never practiced this before, imagine there's a balloon inside your tummy. And when you breathe in, the balloon is going to expand. And when you breathe out, the balloon is going to deflate. And that's another way. If kids are really having a hard time with this the first time around in the sitting posture, they could literally practice lying down at first and just put a book, or they can go to Walmart and buy a little 2.5-pound weight, and they just put it on their tummy. And when they breathe in, they feel the weight rise. And when they breathe out, they feel the weight fall. It just gives them something very concrete to bring their brain to focus on. For me, I like to feel the sensation of the air going in my nose. So I can literally feel that temperature change. Other days, I can notice that more air might be going into one nostril than the other. So think of the breath kind of like you're out in Vancouver. So think of it like the wave in the ocean. Wave rises and then the wave falls. So there's that. For some of my clients, they really like that point where they feel that kind of transition. They feel the breath come in and there's that little silent pause, and they'll just keep their focus there. For other clients, when they exhale, there's another little pause. And at that time, that's where they're keeping their mind focused on just that little pause in between the inhale or exhale on those transitions. And you can fool around with it. You can have a little fun with it. Some people will focus more on the inhale. Other clients will focus more on the exhale. And some of our clients just literally feel the rhythm of the breath in its entirety. And again, everybody's a little bit different. Some people, there's going to be days where you practice this and you really feel the breath in your tummy. And there's other days where you're going to go do this and you might feel that temperature change or really feel the sensations. That's what I'm emphasizing. It's the actual felt sensation of the breath. And the mistake that a lot of goalies do, Kev, is they say, okay, Johnny Stevenson says 20 minutes, so I'm going to go for 40. This is not like a business project. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go really give a double workout today in the gym. I cannot stress this enough. I made this mistake a few years ago where my goal was through this practice was to get more focused, to get more of a quiet mind. You do not want to put any goals onto this practice. There's no outcome. This will take, I'm asking goalies to trust more in the process. When we talk about the proper P's, the 3 P's of proper focus is present moment, focus on the process, and again, positive. So for me, we're not trying to do anything with this practice. Like too many goalies, when I tell them this, they're like, oh, okay, I want to get calm. I want to get, this is going to help me be more in the moment. Let go of all of that. Just, again, follow the breath. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And when your mind wanders, if anything, note what's on your mind. So, for example, it's a tough time. I just explained to you, my dad unfortunately had a heart attack over this past weekend. Now, if I sat down here and did this practice, Kev, what do you think is going to happen, during the course of this practice, right? My mind is going to wander to my dad. Okay. Anything wrong with that? No, it's called being normal. It's called being human. I'm not trying to block out that thought. I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm not trying to change it. It's acknowledging. Oh, you can call it whatever you want. Monkey mind, busy brain, Mr. Future, Mr. Anxiety, because when you name it, you're not it anymore. And so I could just, there's Mr. Anxiety, Mr. Busy Brain. Thank you. And then just keep bringing it back to where you feel the breath the most easily. And ideally, if we're doing proper belly breathing, we want to feel it here. If we tend to feel it here, that's when we can start to get the anxiety because we've got too much CO2. We're not getting the right gas exchange. So ideally, that's why I like to, place the hands so we're making sure that we're getting the proper biomechanics when we're doing the breathing. So now all of a sudden, if you have these thoughts running through the course of the game, now, just like your physical training, if you've strengthened your legs, you have all you've done the hard work in the gym. Now you know the push is going to be there. You're going to have that oomph behind your push, whether it's, your T-push or shuffle or recovery. Same with now, all of a sudden, because you've practiced this. And a lot of times people, I can't emphasize this enough, a lot of times people will say, well, I don't feel really good today. I don't want to do my meditation. No, that's actually when you want to do it because you're learning how to just be with your emotions, knowing that they're not going to last forever. So if I'm in the midst of a game and all of a sudden, I start getting that self-interference, now by feeling the breath, we're literally learning how to get out of my head and getting into that quiet mind, into that quiet spot. But again, if people aren't practicing this, if they're only doing 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, is it going to work in a game? No, it's that daily repetition. That's what's going to make, because there's going to be days when you do this where you're going to literally feel like Buddha, like you're going to have this quiet mind. And there's going to be other days when you go to do this practice where the sound of the grass growing is going to throw you off. But when you're learning, you're teaching your brain how to direct your focus at will. And that's so if all of a sudden you have those thoughts, when you start to realize that a thought is just a thought. What you learn through this practice is you can have a thought and a feeling without that thought and feeling having you. So if all of a sudden your mind wanders because you've practiced this, okay, it's just a thought. And then you can learn how to, what I call decenter. You don't get caught up with your thoughts. That's where this practice is really going to help, because you're going to have monkey mind. That's going to happen. And this gives you a very practical way of slowing your breathing down and getting out of your head. And then you can redirect your focus back to, being on task. So if the mind wanders, that's okay. Now you've got a tool in the toolbox per se that you can bring it back. But it's not a technique, Kevin. This is literally a practice. And how do you get good at anything? You've got to practice it. I had a goalie in the American Hockey League this year, and I had mentioned to him about mindfulness, learning how to just be in the present moment. And he said, well, John, I have Headspace. And there's so many great apps out there. There's Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer. The problem with them is, and I said this to him, I said, okay, you got a penalty shot to stop to the Calder Cup Championship, right? At that moment, what are you going to do? Stop everybody and bring out your Headspace app? No. Eventually you have to get to the point where you're doing this on your own. And if you're out in the middle of in the KHL, or you're out in the middle of Saskatchewan and there's no access to internet, we don't want to be reliant on technology. I'm all for technology. I love the Muse. I love the Focus Band. I love all these different apps. But in the course of the game, when you're having all this monkey mind going on, you have to be able to do it on your own. Now, what I encourage goalies to do, if you're an Atom goalie, it might take it, to ask someone to do this, just feel the breath for 20 minutes. That's a long time. So this is a muscle. Attention is a muscle. And just like a muscle, we have to, slowly build it up. So if you're an Atom goalie, you might start off with anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. If you're a Pee-wee goalie, somewhere between 5 and 10. If you're a Bantam midget, now starting to build it up to that 10 to 15. And then older groups, again, eventually, we want to get to the point where we're doing that 20-minute, practice on a daily basis. And the research, again, not John Stevenson, but the research shows it's the 20 minutes on a daily basis that rewires, changes the neural connections. It literally makes our prefrontal cortex stronger, and the temporal lobes, where the amygdala is, that part of the brain actually shrinks. So we have more poise, more composure. So when we go to do this practice, it's so important to do it on our own without any music or any guidance whatsoever. We want to be able to just grab a seat. And the great thing about this is you can do this anywhere. You could do this on the airplane. You could do this on the bus. You could do it in the airport. I mean, if you've got a spot, and the great thing is you can bring your breath anywhere, right? You can do this before practice. You can do this, in between drills. So, the whole key thing is when you do this daily practice, now we want to start to bring it onto practice and into game situations. And there's so many different opportunities before, during, and after where people can take this practice and use it to get it, more present. This is a form of mindfulness. So there's many different exercises that you can do in mindfulness, but what we're doing today is what would be awareness of breath. Going back to the goalie mantra, I have no future, I have no past. My goal is to make the present last. I'm right here, right now. So this type of practice we're going to do today, we're going to use the breath as a way of anchoring ourselves in the present moment. And so there's to recreate or simulate game conditions. There are over the years, some modifications that I've made to this that more simulate what we're going to experience on the ice. One of the things, the first mindfulness instruction that I ever got was our mindfulness teacher had a bottle of muddy water, and we did the meditation practice, and I can't remember exactly whether it was 20 minutes or 30 minutes later, there was this bottle of muddy water, and next thing you know, after the practice, she got us to look at the bottle of muddy water, and the bottle of muddy water was completely clear. And the reason why it was clear is because it was still. And so when you have that self-interference, all the automatic negative thoughts, all these thoughts running through your head, when you sit still, your mind, one of the goals of this practice is you get more into this quiet mind. So getting into the zone, what we're working on is you've got skill, you've got talent, plus passion, minus the self-interference, what we would call the monkey mind. So one of the modifications that I've made to it is we do it on a Swiss ball. Previously in the past, people have done it lying down, or they've done it seated in a chair where their back is completely against the chair. When we're doing it on a Swiss ball, one of the things we're doing is physically and mentally stabilizing ourselves. So we're more into this Because again, if we start to fall asleep, we're gonna, have some trouble. So when we're in this posture, we're in this athletic goaltending posture. The other different modification, a lot of times people are taught mindfulness to do it eyes closed. We don't play goaltending eyes closed. So we want to do this because we're an athlete. We want to do it in an eyes open posture. Now, one of the things I'm encouraging goalies to do is to put a puck approximately 3 to 4 feet in front of them. Now, the other modification, if you go to most mindfulness teachers, they want you to imagine like there's a string from your head pulling your head up. But what we want to do in this situation is we want to create that good head trajectory that you hear Lyle Nass talking about, and making sure that we're getting the proper angle towards the puck. So if I tilt my head, have that puck about 4 feet, we're recreating how we should be tracking a puck, whether it's a shot coming on us or following a pass or moving. The other key thing that we want to do is all the latest research is showing, and especially in light of COVID, we want to make sure that we're breathing in and out of the nose. A lot of people have been told to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, to optimize oxygen to the brain and to the muscles. So when we get good blood flow to the brain, more oxygen, better decision making, better focus. If we breathe in and out of the nose, we're going to get better blood flow to the muscles. Movement time, reaction time, overall response time improves. So when we go to do this practice, we want to do it with our lips almost like sealed. So we're going to breathe in and out of the nose. Now, the big thing you'll hear with, a lot of the goalies is we want to feel the breath, not think about the breath, but feel the breath. So one of the things that I encourage goalies to do when we do this practice initially is by placing their hands on their torso. So I'm going to give you a couple of options and I'll explain why. So the traditional mindfulness pose is we put our hands right on our belly button this way, or we can put our hands on our navel this way. Sometimes I encourage my clients to put their hands on their 2 lower ribs. And there's 2 big reasons for this. When we breathe in, we're going to feel the expansion. And when we breathe out, we're going to feel the contraction. So it literally teaches us how to breathe properly, how to breathe diaphragmatically. Because when we have anxiety or monkey mind, we tend to breathe too much from the upper torso, from the chest. If we're placing our hands here, one, we're ensuring that we're doing proper diaphragmatic breathing. So we get the good blood chemistry, we get the good diaphragmatic breathing. Now, from a mindfulness perspective, when we're doing this, it gives our brain something very concrete to focus on. So what typically happens during this exercise is I encourage goalies to do this for 20 minutes because this is going to simulate a period. Now, in that time, what often happens is our mind will wander. Okay, and that's what the mind does. Sometimes it might wander to a sound. Sometimes it might wander to a thought. Sometimes it might wander to another sensation. The moment we recognize that our mind has wandered from the breath, we kindly and gently keep bringing it back to where we feel the breath most easily in the body. So for a lot of our clients, they'll feel the coolness of the air going in their nose and the warmth of the air going out. But if they place their hands on their torso, that's going to give them that concrete feeling of the rise and the fall of the belly. So those are some of the modifications. Eyes open, I would encourage goalies to take a puck that's got a logo on it, put it 3 feet, get the head trajectory going. And again, we want to feel the breath, not think about the breath. And when the mind wanders, and I can't emphasize this enough, there's no goal for this practice. I know this is going to sound strange, but we're not trying to get calm. We're not trying to get relaxed. We're not trying to get focused. The only goal is to follow the breath in and out. And when the mind wanders, again, which it will, it's just acknowledging where it's gone and then gently bringing it back. Now, in that process, what we're going to start to learn, it's no different if someone was running up Grouse Mountain, right? If you keep going up that mountain enough times, eventually what's going to happen to your cardio? What's going to happen to your leg strength? It's going to improve. With daily practice, and this is the key, and this goes back to Braden Holtby, it's not a sports psych technique. It's a practice. It's a daily practice. And the more you can do this on a daily basis, what we're doing is we're learning how to quiet the mind. And again, when our mind wanders, it's that recognized return skill. Oh, it drifted, it brought it back, which is going to happen in our game. Our mind is going to wander during the course of a game. That's okay. For some goalies, their mind will go to a different place. It'll go to the bench, to their teammates, up into the stands. But for other goalies, it's not so much a different place. Their mind will go to a different time zone, either to the past or the future. And through this practice, we're learning how to recognize when the mind wanders, but then having that skill of being able to bring it back to the present moment. And that's what we're doing. We're not trying to control our breath. We're not trying to change our breath or alter our breath. We're just simply following the breath in and out of the body. You're on an office chair. So what I'd like you to do is just create a little bit of room for yourself away from your desk. And ideally what I'd like you to do is come to the front of the chair where you're self-supported. Okay. Now, again, we have different options for our hands. We can put our hands just gently on our knees. Okay. A lot of goalies will, be prior to a game, if they're, just in the locker room and they've got their glove and blocker just gently resting on their pads, they could pick a spot on the dressing room floor. It may not even necessarily be a puck. So what I'm going to encourage you to do right now, if you don't have access to a puck, pick a spot on the floor that's about 3 feet in front of you. Okay? Yep, perfect. And now what you're going to do again, similar to, the principles that Lyle talks about with head trajectory, we're going to look, we're going to have more of a downward gaze on that object. Okay? And ideally, you can have your hands placed on your ribs, or you can have your hands placed on your navel in the traditional meditation practice, or you could just put your hands on your navel, or you could put one hand on your chest and one hand on your tummy. Whatever you feel is most comfortable for you. Okay. And again, you're going to breathe in and breathe out through your nose. Okay, we're going to do it for 5 minutes. And while you're doing this, again, you're just going to focus on feeling the rhythm of your breath moving in and moving out of your body while you're keeping your eyes focused on the object in front of you. Does that make sense? Is that clear? And again, when your mind wanders, which it's going to, it's not just paying attention to your breath, but it's also paying attention with kindness, being kind to ourselves. Because as a goalie, often we can tend to be really hard on ourselves. And so again, if you're practicing this in your house and all of a sudden you hear another noise in your room, that's okay. Just acknowledge it, hearing, and then bring it back to where you feel the breath most easily in your body. If you have a thought about what you're going to do later on tonight, okay, just acknowledge it, thinking, and then just gently bring it back to where you feel the breath. And to the best of your ability, Kev, if you can be as still as you can be. If you really, really have to move, that's okay. But if to the best of our ability, we want to just be as still as we can. You ready to start the practice? Here we go.